Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of In Our Community. We're excited today to have a couple of guests with us that are going to share a very personal and very tragic story about their family that I think everyone will appreciate hearing about, since this can affect almost anyone, anytime, anywhere in the world. And I would like to hand it over to and welcome my two guests, Rick and DiAnn Beatty.
Thank you.
Hello, Wayne, how are you?
Thank you. Why don't we start off by both of you sharing just a little bit of background about how you guys came together, that you were both married before, etc., and the family that you brought with you.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, Rick and I met at an Al-Anon meeting. And at the time I was the secretary for the group, the Monday night group. And so anyway, I just remembered that there was a whiteboard, and any information needed to be written on there. And so Rick was over there on the whiteboard putting some information, and I had gone over to where he was and just said something about, oh, you have really good penmanship. And he said that his knees buckled. I heard my voice, I don't know. But anyway, little by little, we, got to know each other a little bit, and then we started dating. And, at the time, Rick's children and my children had different custody times, and so they didn't meet for quite a while, the kids, until finally they were like, well, when are we going to meet your children? We want to meet them. And so and then Christmas came around, and so they had vacation break, and so they came over to my home, all of them, and we spent so much money on kindling.
Oh, yeah.
Just
it was a cold winter, but the kids had a great time.
Oh, and they played games, and it just was really sweet how they all loved each other so much, and got along really great. So that was a really good thing.
Yeah.
DiAnn, how many children did you bring into the relationship?
2 for me.
Okay, and Rick?
Alessandra.
And I have 3.
Okay, so a total of 5.
Yeah.
Very good. All right.
We don't say step or any. They're our kids. They were all very young. We raised them all. So.
And the kids, they got along great. Yeah. And so one of the happy moments was we took Rick had proposed to me. And so what we did was...
She said yes.
Yeah, I said yes. And we just all met at what was it, the pizza parlor place? I can't remember. Yeah. But anyway, we took the kids and we told them that we were engaged, and all 5 of the kids got up from their seats at the table, moved over to some space, held hands, and just kind of went around like this, and they were jumping up and down. They were so
we're going to be brothers and sisters.
We're like, wow. They're
and we're sitting there, we're going, we're getting married. And we go, yeah, that's fine. We're brothers and sisters.
I know, it was cute. Yeah. They really, in their hearts, they were like, we
that was
really
a great confirmation for us.
Yeah. So, it was a little while, and then eventually we got married.
Yeah.
And
So moving along, you were a happily married couple with 5 children. Things are looking great. Some years pass, and then tragedy struck. Why don't you explain to the people that'll be listening to the broadcast exactly what you had to go through and what you experienced?
Well, I think we experienced it together, but so Alessandra, she's our oldest daughter. She graduated from San Jose State in 2010 with a degree in advertising and a minor in sociology. Yeah. So she went to work for an ad agency, a couple ad agencies up in San Francisco. and did that for several years, probably until, I don't know, 2013 or so. But one weekend she came home, because she lived up in the city, and she came home and she goes, you know, I want to talk to you guys because, you know, I've been thinking a lot about what I want to do. And she goes, you know, when I'm 40 years old, I don't want someone to ask me what I do for a living and tell them I make ads. She goes, I want to be a nurse. And we were like, because we always thought she was going to be a nurse anyway, because she was always a helper. And so she said, well, but I want to do that. But she goes, I'd like to save money. And would it be okay if I moved home? We knew what she was going to ask now. Would it be okay if I moved home to say, yes. Were you going to ask to stay home? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Come home and go
So
to
she moved home,
school.
did all of her studies right here at this table we're sitting at.
Yeah. She worked so hard.
Yeah. And one of the things that the theme that you'll hear as we go through today. So Alessandra, the name Alessandra means helper and defender of mankind. And that really defines who she was. She always liked to help. She always liked to defend, take care of her brothers and sisters, take care of her friends. She was a great friend. She would always help people out. And as DiAnn said, you know, if one of her friends was sick, she'd immediately come here and start cooking and taking food.
Go in the kitchen and make chicken soup and all this stuff and deliver it.
Part of that is she's Greek, like her mother, so that's what the Greeks do. Yeah. So yeah,
she really worked hard to earn her degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did she then get a job as a nurse?
Well, she had just been accepted, so she did all of her prerequisites while living here. She got accepted to Samuel Merritt Nursing School 2 or 3 days before she was murdered. Okay. So she was so excited. She'd done all the studies. She was on the top of the world. Yeah. She'd broken up with this guy a couple weeks before, and the night she was murdered, she was going to go out and celebrate with 2 of her really good friends, but she never showed up. So what happened is she was lured. So this was a bad guy. He took money from her. The details are horrible. So he owed her a lot of money. And so he lured her to this place in downtown San Jose under the guise of, hey, I'm going to pay you back the money. I'm sorry, blah, 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 whatever it was. So he lures her there and he just murders her. Leaves her for dead for 2 days in an apartment down there.
It was the worst murder of that year. Yeah. Absolute worst murder. Yeah. And I remember seeing it on the news, and it was just, it was.
And DiAnn didn't really know the details till about 4 months ago. And that was.
How brutal it was.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of those things that there's a certain gear you get into when you're in shock and you need to take care of something. So I just made sure, I told the police, I said, look, you talk to me, I'll answer questions, do whatever you need. I don't want my wife to go through this. This was just bad enough. Because the Monday after she was murdered, we placed a call with the San Jose PD saying there's a missing person. So then they asked us a bunch of questions and they go, oh, we're going to send a squad car out there. We go, what? So they'd already discovered her body and her name. And so that triggered them to come here. That we went down to the police station.
Yeah, the detectives took us down.
And so we went there and I went up with the detectives and they interviewed me and showed me pictures of the murderer and Alessandra's stuff. And, it was a nightmare.
Now the apartment, she was in an apartment when this happened. Was this an apartment that he owned, I guess? Or?
No, it was apparently a B&B.
Yeah, he just rented
He probably rented it with her money.
Downtown, on 3rd Street.
Yeah.
And he said, I know I owe you money, come and come by and I'll give you the money. Yeah. And she was going to be going out to dinner with some of her girlfriends to celebrate that she got accepted to Samuel Merritt Nursing School, and she was very excited. Anyway, so it's just a tragedy. It's just a tragedy. And I actually, not until just recently did I find the reports about what happened to her. I had no idea. And just that it was the worst murder of the year and what she went through. And it was absolutely devastating. So I know she's okay. And when Rick and I were taken down to the
Yeah, when I was upstairs, you were
police
downstairs.
station, and I was just sitting in this cubicle, and I'm sitting there and I hear this voice. It was Alessandra's voice, and she said, "Mom, I'm okay." Just like that. And I was like, so, I mean, we're very close. And I thought it was just phenomenal that she needed to reach out to say, "I'm okay, Mom." It was a really big deal. And it helped me to, keep going. And anyway, so, but I hadn't had any idea how brutal it was.
Yeah.
So
Going back, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but moving along, Rick, you had shared off camera before with me about that you discovered some pretty sordid information about this character that murdered Alessandra. Can you share that with us?
Sure. So this young guy, he was not. You could you get a feeling about a person when you meet him, and so there was something wrong, and we knew something was wrong, but there was nothing. What you don't realize is there's nothing you can do when someone's caught up in this web of whatever it is that attracted her to him. It was so tragic, but it was one of those things we just knew something was wrong. So we had friends of ours come over to watch a ball game, and one of our friends she couldn't stand the guy, so she Googled him, but his father's name came up. He's a junior, so his dad's name came up, and she showed me his picture. She goes, "Is this his dad?" And I go, "Yeah." Well, he was on Megan's list because he had sexually abused the murderer's sister and his own daughter, and went to jail for 6 years or so. And nobody knew about it. We didn't know about it. Alessandra didn't know about it. When Alessandra came home that night, I said, "Hey, did you know about this?" She goes, "Oh my," she was in shock. So she confronted the guy, and he came over to try to explain it and blame it on his mother and his sister. But it was one of those things where I said, "Okay, so I said, look, Diane and I have been married, second marriage, we're married for 20 years at the time and I said, there's nothing she doesn't know about me, and there's nothing I don't know about her. We have no secrets. You apparently have secrets. What else are you hiding?" Well, we found out 2 weeks later what he was hiding. And the thing is, he attempted to murder a previous girlfriend 6 years before he murdered Alessandra in Reno, and essentially got away with it. He spent 2 years in jail. She was terrified. We've met her. She's a part of the foundation. Beautiful young lady. And nobody knew about it. Nobody knew about it. So it was just all about secrets, but you could just tell something was up.
Yeah. So after going through this horrendous experience, at what point, because just to let the audience know that these two individuals here, Rick and Diane, have started a foundation now 5 years old, called the Alessandra Foundation, and it's based on this tragic experience. It's bringing light, hopefully legislation that is going to protect and change the way these individuals can take other people's lives because they're insanely jealous. At what point along did you both look at each other and decide you needed to do something to make a difference?
Well, we kind of knew it from the beginning, but the way it started, Wayne, was Diane and I are Christians. And about a week after Alessandra was murdered, 2:00 in the morning, the Lord woke me up and said, "Hey, grab your pen, grab your paper, come downstairs, I'm going to talk to you. And in my years, I've learned, okay, I'll go do that. So I did that. I came downstairs here, and in about 15 minutes, he wrote out what he wanted to have happen. You know, the foundation, here's the cause, and here's the approach. And I went, wow, that's great. Who's going to do that? And he goes, you are. I go, yeah, I sell rocks for a living. I don't know what to do. He says, that's okay. I'll show you how to do it, and I will lead you in this. And that's how this happened. I mean, it's really that simple. And,
wow.
and all of that from that morning in 15 minutes is exactly what the foundation is. And it's guided by love. We're not out to get anybody. We're not out for revenge. You know, one of our monikers is prevention is our priority. And it's all about, you know, love does not rejoice about injustice, but rather rejoices whenever the truth wins out. So the foundation is to promote this environment of truth that shines the light on those that perpetrate these senseless acts of violence. Because as we've seen, it screws up your heart, your family, the friends. It just doesn't affect. We're talking about, we did a testimony in front of San Jose City Council, which is probably probably the best one we've done as far as outlining what happens. But it really, it has obviously affected us. But she has 4 siblings and their families that it's affected. All of her friends. There were 801 people at her funeral. She was 27 years old when she died. From all, it looked like the United Nations in that church. So it was a remarkable thing. And it just kind of, it started going, and the people on the board were, you know, our pastor, Pastor David Canastraci, her boss at her advertising agency in San Francisco, her boss at Valley Medical Center, where she volunteered as a volunteer in the TBI unit, some friends of hers, some friends of ours that just, you know, all these people came together. And then also the foundation really is about educating. So we partner on that with the YWCA Next Door Solutions, Kaiser Permanente, just to go out and talk about domestic violence, just like we're doing today. Because it's not something that people talk about. It makes people uncomfortable to talk about domestic violence. And the legislative piece we started, so the foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit. The Alessandra Advocacy Group is a 501c4, which is where we do the lobbying. So donations to that aren't tax deductible. They are tax deductible to the foundation. So that's another piece of the thing. But the foundation really was the first one to start talking about it and really working with Cindy Chavez, with the County Board of Supervisors, with Sam Licardo, the mayor of San Jose. Numerous people have been there. Yeah, Magdalena Carrasco, San Jose Police Chief Eddie Garcia, former. He's a huge advocate still, even though he's in Dallas. But all these people just kind of, it's like, I always hearken back to what the Lord told me at the beginning. I'll help you and I'll show you the way. He's opened these doors all along the way to put us in touch with people that the San Jose Chamber of Commerce, which I was on the board of directors of for 5.5 years. I was on the board at the time, and all these connections I needed were right there. And I had no intention of joining the board of directors 3 months before Alessandra was murdered. So it's all those things, how it just kind of rolls out. And it's been a remarkable journey. It's very hard to do interviews like this, Wayne. It's the preparation for it. The only way we can do things like this is we pray, because it's very, very hard for anybody who's lost a child. There's nothing worse. The grieving process goes on. It's different at different stages. It's different for DiAnn. It's different for me. But it also, we're given that strength to do it because we know it's the right thing to do. it's the right thing to talk to people today about the horrors of domestic violence and realize that there's ways to educate people, because the kid that murdered Alessandra was not born to murder. Something happened that caused him to develop that. When you look at his background and his father's background, which I don't even know the full extent of, it was obviously a tough situation, tough family. So he was made into a murderer. He wasn't born as one. So I think that's the thing that the foundation is targeting. The YWCA has educational programs that are age appropriate for all ages, for middle school, for high school, for college age kids, that's in place. And in Santa Clara County, there's only 9,000 kids that are exposed to this in the Evergreen School District. Why don't the other school districts use it? We teach about everything else, but not about respect. How do you treat people? So it's a long path, but that's the only thing we have to do for the rest of our lives is to do this. And we're happy to do it because we don't want any other people to suffer what we've suffered. And too many people in the last 5.5 years have done so. We've met 2 other couples who've lost girls just like us within a year from when we lost Alessandra.
And so these 3 families, we've kind of joined together to see what we can do.
Great.
And
We'll stop there now only because I want to be able to come back for another session here.
Okay.
And really get in and delve into this effort of really making a difference in the world through her name and the Alessandra Foundation, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
I think that there's so much that can be said about what you've experienced. As you said just before Diane spoke, was the fact that reliving this, having to go back and re-image everything and bring back those painful memories is hard for anyone, let alone parents of a child that was part of an integral family that was blended together that seemed to function like they were all born almost at the same time. So I would just want to say, first of all, that we're honored to have you both here as guests. That's enough cannot be said about that, because I believe that through this program and maybe others like it to come, we, with your efforts, we can be exposed to this type of tragedy and eventually begin to nip it to the point where it no longer exists as it does now, where innocent lives are taken at the drop of a hat. So again, thank you both for the opportunity to be able to sit with you guys and hear your story. When we follow up with the second one, again, we'll delve into the advocacy portion of it, the legislation portion of it, what you see happening in the future, what you would dream about having come true maybe 10 years from now or 5 years from now. I think that would be very interesting to hear also for those people that are going to be tuned in and very interested to see, because I'm going to be honest with you, I believe that we're going to have a number of people that are going to tune into the show, and they're going to be right where you guys were 6 years ago, with somebody stalking their daughter and they really don't know what to do. So, yeah. So thank you again for the opportunity to be able to sit with you guys, and we'll look forward to our next time together.
Well, we're honored to be here. Thank you for having us here.
It's a privilege. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to thank you also for that great background, because it does keep those viewers in mind that she was just not a name, but she was a very beautiful woman.
Absolutely.
And a woman that was loved, as you said, and respected. To have 800 people at your funeral and you're only 27 years old, you think that maybe she worked for the Pope or something like that, right? So that's a great background, and thank you for allowing her to be a part of this conversation.
Oh, we are
It's all about her.
touched. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And we'll look forward to you all again joining us for our second go round with talking to Rick and DiAnn regarding the foundation they established in the name of Alessandra and what they really hope to see happen through this foundation and what they have already accomplished in the 5 years since she was tragically taken from this earth. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our next episode of our interview with Rick and DiAnn Beatty. Thank you, and have a great day.